Hello, and welcome to Intro to Technology Google Forms. It's May the 4th, so I want to wish you a May the 4th be with you. My name is Javon James. I'm a digital teaching and learning coach with Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools. And if you have any questions, you can email me at ypjames@wsfcs.k12.nc.us. If you would like a copy of these slides, in your address bar, type bit.ly/Google Form session, and you can have a copy of these slides to look at your leisure. In this session, we're going to talk about creating forms, both the where do you go to even get started, and the how, what are the mechanics of actually creating a form. Generally, you're making this form or survey because you want to send it to someone, so we're going to figure out how to do that. And then after you send it out, where do you find your results? So that's what we're going to discuss in this session. Let's start with the where. There are two ways that you can do this. The first way is if you go to a new tab and you click on just google.com, you type google.com, and you have your 9 dots here in the upper right hand corner. And you can scroll down until you find forms. And when you click on forms, they have some templates available, but you can also just start with a blank form. That's one way. Another way, and the way that I often do it, is I go to my Google Drive and I click on the new button, more, and Google Forms, and that gives me a blank Google form. Either way is perfectly fine. It just depends on how you would like to do it. When you have your Google form, you're going to give it a title. So I'm going to call this Google Form Practice. And I type that, and that'll be the title whenever someone looks and sees my form. But in my Google Drive, it's still called an untitled form. So in the upper left-hand corner, I'm going to click on Untitled Form, and Google will just make the title of my file and the title of this form the same thing. After I gave it a title, I now have my first question that Google gave me, and it's untitled question. So I'm going to make this question number 1. And I have in it, Google will try to figure out what kind of question. So it chose multiple choice. Perhaps I want a different kind. I can choose checkbox, and there's between multiple choice and checkbox. Multiple choice, I can only select one answer. Checkbox, I can select multiple answers. And then there's also drop down. That's the same kind of as a multiple choice, so I can only select one answer, but it'll condense all those questions in case I have like a really long list and I want to make my form look a little shorter. Another popular question type is short answer. With short answer, you can have up to 140 characters. So that would be words, things like your name, your address, things where you're not going to have a whole lot of characters. If you have something where you're going to ask someone's opinion or for them to describe something, you might want to give them a few more characters to use. So you would use a paragraph, and that has a sextillion characters that they could type. That would be a 1 with 18 zeros. So they could do a whole lot of typing in that. Hopefully they don't write a book, but they could almost. So you have your short answer and your paragraph. One more kind of question that I like to point out is the linear scale. On the linear scale, that be whenever you ask questions like, how was this? Good to bad. And then they can select anything in between. Or how do you feel today? Happy and sad. And you can have a scale from 1 to 4 or 1 to 6. And so you can add that kind of question. There are other ones that you can explore, but I would say those are the most popular question types that are used. in my question, I have a multiple choice question and I just have this one option. So I'm going to say, I'm going to keep hitting the enter key and that'll give me more options. I'm going to stop at 4 options on that one. And what I'm going to do now is pause here and ask you to create a form. So you can either go to your new tab and your 9 dots and find forms. You can also go to your Google Drive and do new, more, Google Forms. So either way that you like, we're going to create a form, give it a title, and add one question to that form. Welcome back. Let's keep going with our Google form. Underneath of our question, we have a couple of icons that we can click on. We have the duplicate icon. So if I click that, it's going to make a question exactly like the question that I just had. And that would be good if I had questions that were similar. So now I can just erase question 1 and make it question 2. And there you go. I have 2 questions on my form. If I want to get rid of this question, I can also delete it. And that's also where I would click. And you just have to click, not drag, just click on required question. And that means that they won't be able to submit your form until they answer that question. So a lot of times if you have a question like name and you want to make sure that they put their name on the form, so that would be required. So if you have information that you absolutely must have from this form and you don't want them to submit without letting you know, then you can make that question required. On this sidebar, we have the plus, and that's how, if we didn't want to duplicate, we can just click plus and we would add a new blank question. I am going to add name as a question. And that is very important. And notice how Google said that's a good short answer kind of question. So it just did that for me. But name is an important question to have on your form. If you don't type name or ask people what's your name, your form is basically anonymous because people aren't going to tell you that information. And there's not another way to collect it unless you're collecting emails and you can tell from their email address what their name is. But best practice is if you need to know people's names, it's put in that question so that people will tell you their name on the form. The next icon that we have down is to import questions. So this will allow you to import questions from another form. So after you start creating these forms, sometimes you might have similar questions like, which department are you with? And that you'll be able to just say, import this from the last form that I made and put that question in there so you don't have to type all those departments over and over again. Or which school are you from? And if you're doing something even bigger, you have the states. So you don't want to have to type all 50 states every time. So you can import that. Once you type it one time, you can import it from another form that you've already created. You have add title and description. So that's just text. So there's no question associated with that, but sometimes you might find you need an explanation in your form, and that's what you would use to do your explanation. You can also add images. So if you have a picture you want to put in there, and videos. So with a video, perhaps you have something from YouTube that you want someone to watch and then answer questions about it. So you can put that video in and then you can add questions underneath that go with that video. I am going to click on plus to add a question, and I'm going to call this question number 3. And I am going to add my options. And now my form has 3 questions, question 1, 2, name, and number 3. So I probably want name to go at the top. So if I click on the name question, and I know that I've selected name because you see how that blue bar came along the side? Right now, if I click on question 2, now the blue bar is with 2 and name is not highlighted. So I'm going to click on the question with name, and I'm going to drag the name up to the top. So now I have name, question number 1, question number 2, question number 3. I am going to add one more question because I'm going to show you that wherever you are, whichever question you have highlighted. So right now I have question number 1 highlighted. If I click plus to add a new question, it is going to go under question number 1 and before question number 2. So anytime you create a form, it's going to go directly under the question that you were just using. And if that's not where you want it, you use those bars right there and you can drag it up and down. But since I don't want this question at all, I'm going to hit the trash can and delete. So I'm going to ask you to pause again, go back to your form, and create a name question. Make that name question required. So we make sure that we collect names with our form. And then have a total of 3 questions. And you can make those questions anything you like. How was your weekend? What's your favorite color? So we're just going to come up with 3 questions. So we're going to pause here. We're going to add to our form that we've already started. You're going to have your name. You have a question that says, what's your name, or just name? And then 3 other questions. And I'm going to make it even more challenging. With those questions, I'm going to challenge you to pick at least 2 different types. So if this one is multiple choice, I'm going to make this one a linear scale. And I will make this one check boxes. So I'm going to have at least 2 types. If you want to be daring and do each question a different type, even better. But I'm going to pause here so that you can create your form. Great. So now that you have your form created with your 3 questions and then the 4th one being name, we're going to scroll all the way to the top because we are going to check out the settings. So I'm going to click on that settings wheel. I'm actually going to start over here on the right. You can make your survey, which is what we did right now, into a quiz, and that would allow you to have point values and have right and wrong answers. So if that's something that you want to do, I encourage you to explore that. But right now, ours is just a survey, so I'm not going to change that. Presentation allows you to say what at the end when someone hits submit, what happens, right? So you can change that confirmation message from your response has been recorded to something else like thank you for taking my survey. Also, if you have a really long survey, you might want to have a progress bar so people can see that they're getting closer and closer to the end. And if it's something like if you were doing the quiz, then you might want to shuffle the questions so that if 2 students were beside each other, they wouldn't necessarily be on the same question. But the only thing we'll do is change that confirmation. And then general, we're really going to check this one out. You can set up your survey to collect email addresses. So when they submit, it has to have an email address. I want you to notice that the default for Winston Forsyth County Schools is that you have to be part of Winston Forsyth County Schools, so have WSFCS in your email address in order to take the survey. If you want to change that, which I am going to change it, I'm going to uncheck that box. And now anyone can take the survey. So if I'm sending this survey out to parents or other community members, I'm going to want to uncheck that box because they won't be able to take it and that would defeat the purpose if I was trying to get parent feedback, right? And another thing you can do is you can limit to one response. So let's say we're doing a vote for Teacher of the Year. For that one, I would restrict it to WSFCS because everybody who's voting should be a teacher. And then I'm going to say limit to one response. That way people can't vote multiple times. We're going to uncheck that because this is not a Teacher of the Year survey. And then you have some things you can decide what you want people to do. They can let them edit their submission. So after they submit, they go, oh, no, I want to change the answer. So they'll have a link that they can go back and change it. You can also let them see a summary of the charts. So if you were trying to get feedback from your students about like what book would they want to read next, and then you have so many choices, and then you want to let them see the graph to see how people are voting, that kind of thing. Afterwards, you would let them see it, and notice that that box is not checked by default. So if you really do want people to be able to see what they're saying, then you have to do that. The default basically is that only you, who are the creator of that form, are able to see the results. So I'm going to save those changes that I made. And now what we're going to do is submit our form so that other people can fill it out. In a new tab, you are going to type bit.ly/mygoogleform4. And that is going to take you to my survey, and you are going to paste a link to your form. And your form should have that, what's your name that's required, your 3 questions, and then at least 2 question types. Now, how do you paste the link to your form? I'm going to go back to my form. And I'm going to click the send button. When you click the send button, first thing that comes up is via email, but we're looking for the link. So I'm going to click on the link icon. It's a really long URL, so I like to click shorten URL to get it a little bit neater. And then I'm going to click copy. And then I'm going to go to that bit.ly/mygoogleform4 and press the enter key. And now I am here. So I am going to type in my email address, my first name, my last name, and I am going to paste my Google form and submit. So I'm going to give you a quick second to pause and submit your form. Now that you've added your form to the list, I would like you to go to another bit.ly, bit.ly/Google Forms results, and fill out a couple of forms. So wherever you see your name on the list, the 2 above your name, I'd like you to click on those links and fill out their form. If your form doesn't have a results in a few days, just send me an email and I'll fill it out so that you can see some results and see what it looks like on your form. But if you give it a little bit, other people will check out this video and fill out your form. And so that's why I'm asking you to do that right now. So if you could fill out the form above yours, so whatever 2 come right before your name, then can you fill out that form? And I am going to do a quick demo of that. So, for example, I'm on here, and above me, I see Kim's form. So I'm going to click in that box. And when I clicked in the box, another link popped up. So I'm going to click on that. And then I'll be able to do Kim's form. And then I'm also going to do Carol's. So I'm going to click on the box with Carol. And then I'm going to click on the link so that Carol's forms come up. And then I'm going to fill out those 2 forms, give it a little bit, and then somebody will fill out your form. If no one fills out your form, because maybe you're at the bottom of the list, that's okay. Just send me an email and I'll fill out your form for you. Great. So let me show you where you will find your responses to your results from your survey. You're going to go back to the survey that you created. And we've been hanging out here on this questions tab, but right next to it, there's a responses tab. And right now, no one has filled out my survey because I was the last one on the list. So I'll have to wait to see whenever I do get responses. But when I do get responses, it'll be right here in the responses tab. The other thing I can do is click on this green create a spreadsheet button. And I'm going to have create a new spreadsheet. So I'm going to click this create button up here. And now it made a spreadsheet for all of my data to go into. So I'll be able to check that out later also. And now that it's created, I don't have to wait for it again or do anything. So now if I just go back to my form and click on that again, it'll open it up every time. So that's how I can get to the spreadsheet that shows all my responses. But if I just want to see the quick graphs that are created, I will click on the responses tab in my form. And that was everything that we had. But I'm going to throw in one little bonus into this. Woohoo! So we're going to make our form not purple. We're going to make it nice and pretty. Up here where we had the send button, that's how we got the link to send out. And then we also looked at the settings. This is what we're going to look at, and we're going to preview our form to see what it actually looks like when someone else is looking at it. But I'm going to go to this one. It says customize theme. And when you click on that, you can choose an image. And I'm going to choose these purple bubbles. But if you scroll, there are more there. And then also notice that there are other categories. But I'm just going to click on these purple bubbles. And then I'm going to say insert. And now I have purple bubbles on the top of my form. And then I can also change it to light purple, or if I want to choose my own color, maybe I'll choose red instead and say add. So now I have the red bar, which is kind of crazy with the purple bubbles. I'm going to go back to purple. But so now you can add a theme to your form. And as problems, I'm going to click on that eyeball so I can see what my form looks like to other people. And this is how it would look. So I hope you were able to get some things from this and how to create a form, how to create one, how to send it out, and how to see your results. And maybe I'll see you back again next week when we talk about Google Sheets. Thanks. Bye.